Now to the news from the front line. The tension there is not subsiding. Yesterday, 254 combat engagements were recorded along the entire front line. The enemy is storming almost every sector. The enemy attempted to break through our defenses 30 times each on the Lyman and Kostiantynivka axes, and there were 26 attacks on the Pokrovsk axis. A fresh military update from our correspondent, Yehor Romak. He's live from the frontline zone. So, greetings, Yehor. We are waiting for news from you, and tell us where you have been.
Greetings, Tetianov. Regarding the situation right on the front line. Just a few minutes before starting my live report, I would like to begin, as is tradition, with an appeal to all viewers of the United News Marathon. A QR code and a card number will now appear on your screens, which you can use to support the fundraiser for our defenders, the soldiers of the 48th Separate Artillery Brigade, who are striking the enemy in the South Slobozhansky direction. Right now, the guys are in great need of drone detectors, so I strongly urge you to join in with a donation. Well, and now about the Russians' favorite pastime in Ukraine. I'm talking about burning down settlements and terrorizing the civilian population. I'm specifically talking about the situation in the Kostiantynivka direction, because this morning we managed to visit Druzhkivka. And this is the very city that day after day is changing. It's already very hard to recognize because I was last there in June, and Druzhkivka then and now are two different cities. Driving into the city right now, into Druzhkivka itself, is impossible. You have to go in on foot. The risk of getting hit by an FPV drone in a car is too high. It's swarming with them. We were accompanied by press officers from the 93rd Separate Mechanized Brigade, whose soldiers, among others, are defending the Kostiantynivka direction. Because without the military, it's better not to be there at all. The guys from the mobile fire groups made a significant contribution to the fact that we managed to return from there, repeatedly shooting down UAVs that were flying right nearby. In reality, the active movement in Druzhkivka is not just aerial, but also ground-based, since the lion's share of logistics now rests on pickup trucks, dozens of which we encountered here. Unfortunately, both intact ones and those already burned by the enemy. There's also a lot of burned civilian transport, because the occupiers do not care who exactly they're striking. This was also confirmed to us by the commander of one of the companies of the 93rd, whose soldiers are holding the defense in this direction. He said that he had repeatedly seen with his own eyes the Russians' targeted attacks on civilians specifically. Here is the direct quote.
They hit civilians, and it was visible. A man was killed here recently who was transporting potatoes on a bicycle. They don't choose. There is nothing human in them.
They see movement and don't care if it's military or not.
They don't discriminate, even though, well, it's obvious that, well, it's not a soldier. They burn everything. They destroy, they burn.
Hence the sad statistics. The head of the Donetsk Regional Military Administration, Vadim Falashkin, reported that over the past week, the Russians killed 15 civilians in this region alone. Almost 80 more people were wounded. In addition to Druzhkivka, Slavyansk and Kramatorsk are also under constant drone and guided aerial bomb attacks. According to police information, just over the past day, the enemy shelled both the front line itself and frontline settlements 1,144 times. Well, in the next story, I suggest we return to the southern Slobozhanshina direction, where the drone operators of the 48th Separate Artillery Brigade are striking the enemy very effectively. The day before, we managed to see with our own eyes a drone that can truly be called a literal nightmare for the Russians in their logistics, and especially for positions located deep in the rear. We are talking about the Ukrainian-developed Backfire, thanks to which the soldiers of the 48th Brigade effectively fly over 80 kilometers deep into the enemy's positions and even strike targets and facilities on the territory of the Russian Federation. So you are about to see a report on this. And besides this, during the segment, you will also see a QR code and a card number, which you can use to support the 48th Brigade's fundraiser for drone detectors, which the guys really need right now. So I ask you to join in. As soon as the Kharkiv sun sets below the horizon, the birds of prey of the 48th Separate Artillery Brigade go out on the hunt. This aircraft and its crew are a real nightmare for the Russians at night. The three-person crew works like a single mechanism. At the same time, the communication antenna and the catapult are being set up. Deployment should take no more than 10 minutes. One of the most intriguing parts is the installation of the ammunition load. Here, it's this 120mm mortar shell.
On the drone's command, the servo opens, and under its own weight, the hatch opens, let's say. Upon impact, the fuse detonation.
And it lands just like a mortar shell impact, right, in general? Next, the wings are attached, the batteries are connected, and the pre-flight check can be performed. And now we can get acquainted with this bird. This is a Ukrainian development called Backfire, and it has something to surprise the occupiers with.
There's a mission profile that has already been written directly for the flight, where the strike point is clearly specified and the return path is also fully specified, let's say. It is a highly structured plan that ensures every phase is accounted for. So from takeoff to landing, it flies itself.
In other words, the aircraft is also very smart, which makes it even deadlier for the enemy. By the way, the speed of preparing the aircraft for takeoff is helped by quite a bit of attention from the mosquitoes. The pilot with the call sign Kursin doesn't miss an opportunity to crack a joke.
Well, now we're going to launch our own little mosquito.
However, unfortunately, it doesn't manage to take off on the first try.
We're being jammed right now, guys.
While there's no connection, there's time to ask the crew about the aircraft itself. Kirsten, Rulia, and Billy have been working with the Backfire for a month now. They were together at training. The pilot shares the aircraft impressed him from the first encounter, and its high efficiency made it a priority target for Russian interceptors. However, the Ukrainian drone is also very resilient.
One was, yes, we had one wounded. They were trying to shoot it down with FPVs, but it didn't work. It came back all shredded, all beaten up, but it made it back. Yeah. Well, in general, it performs its task at 99.9%, let's say. We send these little gifts just the way it should be.
And of course, its trump card is its flight range. Right now, most of the targets are deep in enemy territory. Depots, logistics, artillery. Everything is deep in the racist's rear.
We are relatively safe, at a great distance. It flies for us up to about 160 kilometers.
Well, so it's like a mid-range strike, right?
Yeah, a scary, scary thing.
The result of the mission can be seen after the aircraft returns. And it looks like this.
That's it, taken off.
Uh-huh.
And it hits precisely.
And that's that.
Even while assembling the aircraft, it was hard not to notice the Ruli tattoo of the maintenance technician, although this aircraft appeared long before the war. The tattoo was done before the war, probably.
A long time ago.
It just so happened that we ended up in aviation.
Yeah, that's true.
Helping with the aircraft's equipment was Ruli Billy. The man is from the Kyiv region. He shares, the success of the work also depends on the attitude toward the equipment, because for him, the aircraft is also a brother in arms.
The aircraft took off. The most important thing is that we wait to see if it made it back. If it didn't come back, if we lost one, it's like you've lost someone from your own crew. It's that feeling like you're going home, but your brother isn't there. And even though it's equipment, it's still our team.
Finally, there's an opportunity to take off. Kirsten is entering the final settings, and we can leave the launch site.
We're leaving our aircraft alone, and we'll be sending it off.
With a gift.
With a little gift.
The guys really have a lot of work today. Their constant attacks on the enemy's rear prevent the Russians from fully preparing assault groups for an attack in the South Slobozhanщina direction. To ensure the drone operators of the 48th have everything they need to keep hitting the invaders where they least expect it, we can support the unit's fundraiser using the QR code and card number you see on the screen. These funds will go towards enemy drone detectors, which are very necessary right now. From the Kharkiv region, Yehor Romaklo, Volodymyr Kovalenko, and Serhiy Marchenko. Back to ICTV, United News Marathon.
The president of Ukraine discussed important personnel issues with the military. The commander-in-chief of the armed forces, Mikhailo Drapati, in coordination with the chief of the general staff, Igor Skibik, and the acting minister of defense, Yevgeny Kamara, proposed a vision for these changes. Some of the decisions have already been prepared. There will be more, emphasized Volodymyr Zelenskyy. We also discussed the situation on the front lines, the implementation of the long-range sanctions plan against Russia, and our mid-range strikes. Some operations have been adjusted and new ones have been approved. Of course, a lot of attention was paid to air defense and the needs for protecting frontline and border cities, as well as our regional centers and the capital, which are under extremely brutal Russian strikes, the head of state emphasized. And the commander of the Unmanned Systems Forces, Robert Brovdy, named 5 main reasons that could lead to the end of the war. According to him, the aggressor will stop when it can no longer pay for its war. Also, when Moscow loses the ability to produce its own weapons, cannot protect its rear, send manpower to the slaughter, and maintain the illusion of stability within the country. Therefore, Brovdy is convinced the only acceptable strategy for us is to bleed Russia dry and do everything to ensure the aforementioned reasons become a reality. He reminded that this is a war in modern history where Ukraine is not fighting on Russia's side, and Kyiv is gradually managing to shift the war to where it came from. A petrochemical plant has been hit in Russia's Tyumen region. Our military hit the facility's central gas fractionation unit, which has a capacity of over 6.5 million tons of raw material per year. It is precisely this unit that is used in the production of components for rocket and aviation fuel, as well as composite materials for UAVs. The destroyed unit is an important component of one of the largest petrochemical enterprises in Russia and Europe. The Ukrainian General Staff also confirmed today the strike on another oil refinery in Russia. The Tanaco enterprise is located in the Republic of Tatarstan. Tonight, a fire was recorded at the facility as a result of the strike. In addition, our military confirmed damage to the Ilsky oil refinery in the Krasnodar territory. This facility was attacked on August 8th. The General Staff reported the destruction of a field artillery depot in the occupied Donetsk region. The enemy also lost a storage facility for logistical supplies. And in the occupied Luhansk region, a repair unit was hit. Our military also received confirmed results of operations against the Gvardeyskoye airfield in temporarily occupied Crimea. On August 3rd, 9 fuel storage tanks were destroyed there, and 2 hangars for aviation equipment were damaged. The Ukrainian Defense Forces clearly thwarted a large-scale Russian ballistic missile strike on Kyiv, reported military analyst and serviceman Oleksandr Musyenko. According to him, on the night of August 10th, the enemy was preparing another terrorist attack on the capital. But at the moment the Russians were ready to strike, a missile threat was declared in the Kursk and Belgorod regions. Musyenko suggested that the armed forces of Ukraine managed to saturate the airspace over these regions with drones in such a way that it prevented the enemy from grasping the situation in the sky at that moment and launching an attack. This does not mean that the threats have passed. The enemy has missiles and will be preparing for the next strike, Musyenko emphasized. But this indicates that the armed forces of Ukraine are working on finding solutions under difficult conditions regarding anti-ballistic defense. The Russians are ramping up the production of their missiles, and there may not be any pauses between attacks. This was stated by the deputy chief of the main directorate of intelligence of the Ministry of Defense, Vadim Skibitsky. The enemy's main goal right now is to destroy our military-industrial complex. Therefore, Kyiv, Zaporizhia, Dnipro, and Kharkiv will be under constant attacks. They are considered the main centers of the military-industrial complex. The enemy will do everything to prevent the serial production of Ukrainian ballistics, because the appearance of such missiles in our possession could significantly turn the tide of the war. In turn, the Russians are exceeding their missile production plans. Just last month, they produced twice as many Kh-35s as they had planned. In August, the enemy plans to produce 70 to 80 missiles of various classes. So the Russian air terror is intensifying. In July alone, the occupiers launched 126 ballistic missiles. That's the highest number since the beginning of 2026. And this month, there have already been over 50, of which our air defense shot down only 1. According to forecasts, these statistics will only get worse. We don't have PAC-3 interceptor missiles for our Patriots, and these are currently the only means capable of hitting ballistic missiles. We asked military experts and observers what the way out of this situation is and what to do next. So more details in Vasyl Safyanyuk's report.
This is the morning of August 5th in the Kyiv region after another night of Russian ballistic terror. Dozens dead and wounded, along with massive fires and destruction. The occupier strikes targeted exclusively civilian infrastructure. Warehouses and major logistics centers for Rozetka, Epicenter, Nova Pochta, Novus, and Silpa were burned down. Russian terror against rear cities, especially Kyiv and the surrounding region, has been escalating this summer. In July alone, over 120 ballistic missiles were launched, the highest number since the beginning of 2026. And since the beginning of August, Russia has already launched over 50 of its Iskanders, S-300s, S-400s, and Korean ballistic missiles. Our air defense shot down only one ballistic missile.
The strategy is shooting down whatever is flying is definitely not working because we don't have the means and we won't have them. Let's really start right away with the unpleasant part. There's no need to hope to grasp at straws that Trump said something somewhere. No?
The main reason for this situation is no longer a secret to anyone. We have run out of ballistic missile interceptors, and we are searching for them all over the world. We are asking our partners to share their reserves. Vladimir Zelenskyy spoke about this with Donald Trump in Washington. He even promised to grant us a license to manufacture Patriots, but later changed his mind.
There are missiles for Patriots in the world. It is important that partners make this political decision, the decision to transfer the necessary packages. The United States of America knows what we need. Europe knows what we need. Anti-ballistic missiles should be protecting people, not sitting in warehouses.
But for now, these calls from our president are either not being heard or they are pretending not to hear them. So the problem with interceptors will only continue to grow. Simple math from military experts. Russia can produce nearly 100 different ballistic missiles a month, while the Americans can produce a maximum of 60 interceptors. European manufacturers are lagging even further behind.
In 2025, the total volume of manufactured products did not exceed 150 units. And if you compare that to the scale of what the Russians are currently producing, then in total for ballistic missiles, that figure is approaching 100 per month. Accordingly, comparing 150 per year and more at 100 per month, unfortunately, these are very incomparable figures.
Experts believe that this problem needs to be approached asymmetrically, not to rely too much on ballistic interceptors. There will always be a shortage of them. We need to destroy the missile production chains within Russia itself, as well as strike at depots and launch systems. This is extremely difficult, but who said it's impossible to do? After all, we've already stopped Iskander launches.
We need to find solutions that will allow us to receive information in real time, any information about the movement of launch systems, and a quick reaction at the level of countermeasures, using means that in a short interval, theoretically, when a launch system is on the move, meaning it's 16 minutes, including deployment, can effectively engage these launch systems.
Developing our own ballistic interceptors without a license from the US for Patriots still seems unrealistic for now. So Ukraine should ramp up the production of its own ballistic missiles as quickly as possible, and that will definitely have a tangible effect.
As soon as we have it, it'll be a complete parody because they also have nothing to shoot down ballistic missiles with. So in principle, their ballistic missiles cannot be intercepted by anything currently in their arsenal, meaning none of the Russian systems actually intercept ballistic missiles purely from a technological standpoint.
In the meantime, we have to be patient and be prepared for the fact that Russian ballistic terror will only intensify. Vasyl Safyanyuk, Maximilian Olchenko, Fakti ICTV, United News.